Capital punishment. It is a necessary evil. Many know the quote, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but do not know where it originated from. The quote became known during the Mesopotamian era, which is considered as one of the first civilizations. The quote was used to instill a justice system by the Mesopotamian king Hammurabi. His justice system was nowhere near perfect, but contains a common idea that has been passed on for centuries. If an individual takes it upon themselves to commit a crime, then they should pay equally for that crime that they have committed. The U.S. should enact a more severe capital punishment for criminals, especially very dangerous criminals like Charles Manson. Punishment for crimes in the past were extremely harsher, but not very civil. Public hangings and burning individuals at the stake were a very cruel way to carry out punishments. Today, capital punishment is much more humane than of the past, but some crimes truly do warrant a harsher punishment. It would be very hard to agree with allowing criminals such as Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer to just get to live out their days, being provided for in our prison systems. Criminals like this deserve something worse. Not only is it a form of retribution, but can be seen as a practical way when dealing with the overpopulation of prisons. A civilization needs law and a system of justice, because without it, our society would dissolve into chaos. Crimes need to be punished, and severe crimes warrant harsher punishments. Crime is an illegal act for which someone that can be punished by the government or a gross violation of law, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary website. That being said, crime varies greatly in degree. Crimes that involve murder, rape, treason, and arson warrant harsher punishments than minor crimes like jaywalking. If an individual brings it upon themselves to take a life, then their life should be forfeited. Perhaps if criminals knew that they had harsher repercussions to their actions, then they would think twice before committing crimes. Now, warranted, there will always be crime and individuals that will commit them. But perhaps capital punishment will help deter criminals from doing the more serious ones. The other criminals that should warrant harsher punishments are rape and treason. Other crimes that should warrant harsher punishments are rape and treason. Rape not only is a sickening crime, but it can affect the victims for their whole lives. Treason is committed with the knowledge that you are trying to purposely hurt our country and the citizens in it. Capital punishment should also be executed for these crimes to help deter criminals from committing them. Capital punishment should not be seen as a cruel way to carry out retribution. It should be seen as a way to help keep serious criminals from being allowed to live amongst us and possibly commit the same or worse crimes again. Not every criminal has a sense of morality or a conscience in most cases. Our history books are littered with despicable crimes being committed by incorrigible individuals that are not concerned with the well-being of anyone else but themselves. A prime example of a criminal that should warrant capital punishment is John Wayne Gacy. He was a serial rapist and murderer. This sick individual raped and eventually killed 33 young men that he eventually buried under his house. That is just what we know. The numbers could truly be in the hundreds. If this individual does not warrant to be executed, then I do not know who does. Another example of a criminal that warrants capital punishment is also one of the most notorious, Charles Manson. He was a cult leader that was responsible for 7 murders in the late 1960s. He went on a murderous campaign that would slay 7 Hollywood residents, including actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. Manson was imprisoned in 1972, but ended up dying of natural causes in November 17, 2017, according to biography.com website. That is 45 years that the U.S. prison system took care of Charles Manson. Granted, he did not need to be out in our society, but why was he not punished for his actions? These criminals are just some of the filth that are being taken care of in our prison systems. The U.S. has one of the most overpopulated prison systems in the world. The population is around 2 million individuals, according to the World Prison Brief, and it is rising every day. Per the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, our prisons require almost $80 billion in funding to take care of the population of inmates. These are inmates that have committed heinous crimes, and we are providing them shelter and 3 meals a day. But yet the population of homeless, hungry individuals rises every day. The amount of money we spend on criminals could decrease significantly if capital punishment was enacted on the more serious criminals. This could help our government to spend the federal budget on more humanitarian causes, such as feeding the homeless. Capital punishment is not a fix-all, but it is a step in the right direction. It can be beneficial in eliminating dangerous criminals and eliminating mouths to feed. It can be seen as a cruel retribution, but in a world that is continually getting more dangerous, it seems to be a necessary solution. Capital punishment has always been controversial. Many people are for or against the issue. Capital punishment has been around since the beginning of civilization, and it is mostly due to the individuals such as John Wayne Gacy, or Charles Manson. They believed that they were above the law and that they would not receive punishment for their crimes. Although John Wayne Gacy was executed, Charles Manson lived for 45 years in our penal system. How can our society accept this? Our prisons are already considered the most overpopulated in the world, and our government uses $80 billion to fund the prison systems. The U.S. should want to try and promote capital punishment for serious crimes. It seems so absurd that we are just allowing heinous criminals like Gacy and Manson to live after all the crimes that they have committed. Maybe Hammurabi had the right idea, because I, for one, am all for an eye, and I'm hoping after this speech you are too. Thank you all for being here. All of the info for this speech can be found on ushistory.org, Britannica.com, biography.com, crfb.org, and the Merriam-Webster Dictionary's website. Thank you very much.